Hey everyone, it's Andy here, and this video is going to be a little bit different. This is a pre-warning. It is not a tutorial. I'm basically just going to have a natter about what I'm doing in the hobby and mostly about this Abaddon that I've just finished. Some of you may know, some of you may not know, but basically Cult of Paint consists of myself and Henry, and we both do videos for YouTube and the Patreon as well. And normally Henry does more of the YouTube videos and I do more of the Patreon stuff, and we just, agree between us, swapping between who's doing what. And it's really fantastic because it means we can have a video going up for both each week. But it occurred to me that often I'm doing these projects that I'm really proud of and really happy with on Patreon, but I don't get to share them with you guys on the YouTube so much. So I thought I would just make this video and basically show you what I've been up to, talk about the projects, and actually talk about an upcoming army project which relates to the last 3 tutorials I've been doing on Patreon. So basically, Maloghurst the Twisted came out and I loved this model, and I love Sons of Horus. It's actually one of the first things I did when I got back into the Warhammer hobby was try out Horus Heresy, and I tried doing a Sons of Horus army, and long story short, I failed. I did a really bad job. I didn't really know what I was doing. I couldn't do the transfers right, and the shoulder pads were different sizes to the shoulder pads that the Space Marines came with, and I just had to stop the project because it wasn't working for me. But I've always loved Sons of Horus, probably my favorite legion if I just had to pick one. So when Maloghurst came out, I knew I had to paint him. So I did the tutorial for Patreon and I was really happy with how it came out. The skin on the face looked pretty cool. I managed to get the green color to, a color I liked, and I had some success with the gold metallics, which sometimes I'm not so good at the metallics. So I was really happy with all the elements, and a few of the Patreons said they'd love to see a Sons of Horus vehicle. And this led on to doing my Contemptor Dreadnought in Sons of Horus scheme. And I did a Contemptor Dreadnought years ago, and it was really interesting to compare my style change and my sort of skill improvement, all that stuff. Anyway, I finished these 2 models and I just couldn't stop thinking about Sons of Horus. But for me at the moment, Heresy is something I am interested in it, but it's not really bringing me in. I did Heresy for years. I did an enormous Ultramarines army I spent 2 years on, and I know we have a new Heresy box set coming, but it's still not quite drawing me in. Most of my friends do 40k, and I don't actually have a 40k army. So what I thought was, what if I do some Chaos Space Marines in the colour scheme of the Sons of Horus, because that's what I really love. It's the green and the black and the gold. That's what I really like. And why don't I just say that these are some really old Sons of Horus, and they're still around in the 40k times or whatever, and I can do them super weathered, which is the look I wanted to go for. So yeah, maybe it's not too fluffy or it's a bit inaccurate to the lore, but I'm happy with it, and I just thought, yeah, I'm going to do some Chaos Space Marines because those models are amazing. There's no problems with the sizing issue that we're having at the moment, and so I decided to go for that. I feel a little bit guilty about starting this 40k army because I've started a few 40k armies and failed, and also you might have seen previously I did an update on my Lumineth army, which is still going, but I haven't done anything for it for a while. A few people asked about how my Lumineth army's going, and basically it isn't. And the reason for that is I have a 2000 point Sylvaneth army that I'm really happy with. So I have the ability to play Age of Sigmar whenever I want, fully painted, and I can't play 40k. So I will go back to my Lumineth, but I thought I really do want a 40k army first, and then I will go back and finish those Lumineth. So all these thoughts about what I'll do and what I want in the army led me actually looking at Abaddon, which is a model I got when it was released, but I never really got around to it because, it's not that it's a bad thing, but when everyone's painting it, it doesn't matter, everyone's going to paint the new cool models, but I just didn't really fancy it. And it's because I didn't really have my own spin on the model. I couldn't think of something to make it cool. But having this idea and enjoying Maloghurst and the Sons of Horus Dreadnought so much and wanting to do Chaos Space Marines, I thought now is the time for me to do Abaddon. And of course, I always think about what would be a tutorial people would enjoy on Patreon, and it just seemed the perfect choice. My usual process when coming up with painting a character is to look at the artworks first of all. Inspiration for colours, feels and atmospheres. For me, that's my first thing to look at. I love the 40k artwork, and as Abaddon is such a big and important character, there's a load of artwork for him, which always makes things a lot easier than a more obscure character. I stumbled upon this artwork on Google Images and I couldn't find the original artist's name, so if you know it, please comment below so I can add his credit to the description. But I loved this artwork, and there was two main things that were important to me. One was the kind of atmospheric glow from the blue sword. I really liked that, how it was casting blue on the leg. And the other was actually the pose. I liked this more chilled out pose, especially the claw and the sword just hanging down beside him. I thought that looked pretty badass. My conversion skills aren't fantastic, but I thought, come on, let's give it a go. Let's see if I can repose Abaddon. So I decided to film the reposing of Abaddon for Patreon. If it went wrong, I wouldn't do it, but if I pulled off the conversion, then it would become a tutorial. And I'm happy to say it went very well. I used some of the Chaos Terminator arms and a lot of putty and things like that to reposition the arms hanging down. And this already felt like a huge win when I achieved that. And then I also changed out the trophy racks with the slimmer ones from the Terminators, just to make him look a little more like the classic Abaddon, and then just a slight repose of the head. And once I finished this conversion, I was like, okay, this is awesome. Now I've got something that feels a bit more unique. It's going to feel like my Abaddon just because of this repose. If I paint it, whatever way, it's fine, but the repose is going to mean it's my very own figure, and I always like that for the characters of my armies. This was one of those projects that I was actually having a really hard time to get my painting hours in, just being extremely busy with work, and painting sessions were few and far between. So to have a project you're excited about is really good for these times, because I wanted to paint. I think when you're like, I've only got an hour or two a week to paint, if it's a project you're doing that's a slog, you're kind of like, oh, I can't be bothered, I've barely got any time. But obviously I'm committed to doing Patreon tutorials, so I kind of had to do it, but I really wanted to as well because I was so into the conversion work I did. I started with the face for the first tutorial, and I wanted to do this really strong shadow on one side. I have tried this before and done an okay job, but this I think I really pulled off, in my opinion. I was sort of not worried, but I didn't know how it was going to go, and it was one of those things where I took my time with the experiment, and I was like, oh hey, that's great, that's the hardest part of the model out of the way. The conversion I didn't know if I could pull off. Faces are always the most difficult thing, but I got to this point, I was like, yeah, this is a great project. So I was really motivated at this point. I think that's important when you're doing a big project like a character like this. So I carried on filming, and it was a weird level I was painting this model to, because I wanted to show, some cool things on the tutorial, like mixing metallics with regular matte paints to get lots of shadows, doing the textured leather and all this stuff. So I'm really happy with the level I was doing it at, but I was kind of not painting it my best. It's, obviously going to be in my army, but it was just a nice level to paint is what I'm getting at, because I'm trying to make it look really cool, but if anything gets a bit tedious or, taking too long, then I just kind of got it done. So yeah, this is a really nice level to paint at, I think. I would have loved to have painted this, and spent 3 or 4 months on it, doing it with non-metallic metals and stuff, but it felt good to do the true metallic metals, which are faster and still get a cool result. I think just a little bit of OSL from the sword and the shadow on the face, that makes him seem evil, and that's what was cool from the artwork. So I'm kind of glad I captured those things, and hopefully you like him too. So with this success of Abaddon, I was really happy with Maloghurst, Abaddon, my Contemptor, and I've basically done all the fun stuff. I've done 2 characters and a vehicle, so I'm a long way off from doing an army. But I felt doing these things, and being so happy with them was like, okay, I really want an army to go with these now because these are so cool. I want Abaddon on the table, and he has to have some troops behind him. So I'm hoping that painting these characters I love so much helps me keep motivated when I'm painting the troops for this project. I looked at some of the colour plates from the Fordwell books, which are just awesome for getting inspiration. A bit like the art, but these colour plates, really help. And what struck me about this Sons of Horus one was just the shape of the helmet grille. And it actually reminded me more of one of the Space Marine helmets, with that slightly rounded shaped grille. It was a bit like the Mark V helmet as well. So I asked my friends and the community for some of these heads that you get from the Mark VII Space Marine kit. So it was a very specific head of a kit that people aren't buying much anymore, and you only get 1 or 2 in a box. So it was a hard mission to find a bunch of these, but thank you so much to everyone who sent me some. It was really kind of you. And I managed to get together a full army with some nice little kit bashes. So I'm just using the Chaos Space Marine standard kit, which is absolutely brilliant. But I just wanted to make it slightly less spiky and stuff like that. So I managed to mix it up with some Mark III shoulder pads and Mark IV backpacks, and then these helmets, and I stuck some top knots and things on them. I also used some parts from the Mark V kit because originally I bought some Mark V Marines and I was like, these are just too small. I love the design of them, but these old Heresy Marines, they just feel a bit tiddly now, and I wish I didn't care so much, but the whole sizing of Marines things, it's kind of been screwed up by Primaris because I had no problem before, but now I've seen Primaris, the small Marines seem a bit silly to me, so I'm sure you guys have got some opinions on that as well. Anyway, that's what led me to doing the 40k Chaos, because this normal Marine kit I think is just right in terms of size, but these little kit bashes, just like Abaddon, make it feel a bit more like my own, and just building all these Marines, again, helped me keep really stoked for the project. I wrote a little 1,000-point army list, which is a nice place to get to in the beginning, and it happened to be 2 lots of 10 Marines, 2 lots of 5 Terminators, which are epic. I love those Terminator models. My Contemptor and Abaddon. I don't know what I'll use Maloghurst for. If you've got any suggestions, then that would be cool. Maybe I'll just sling him in there in the squads. But that for me is a perfect 1,000 points because 20 Marines, not too bad to do. I love the Terminators and I definitely wanted 10. So this is a perfect starting point. And I really, really want to get this finished. So I'm kind of doing this video to hold myself accountable, and I don't want to fail this project. We did that on the Culture Paint podcast, talking about failing, and I really do want to do this project because I'm so happy with the conversions. I know I've not done my Luminef yet, but my excuse is seriously that everyone I know plays 40k, and I do have a painted AOS army, so this does make more sense. Think of that what you will. So my plan over the next few weeks is to continue doing my tutorials, but try and chip away at this project slowly so it doesn't become stressful. But I've just got to finish a few, mold lines and drilling barrels and gluing some backpacks on. But the core of the force is almost built. So my intention is to airbrush everything in one go in the same green as a Dreadnought. And then I'll, start painting the individual units. And I really think having the black trim instead of the gold is going to make the Chaos Marine kit look really cool. So I'm really excited to get to the point where they're airbrushed, the transfers are on, and I've painted black on all those trims and stuff like that. What I'm going to do is record how I've done that soon, whenever I get around to it. And of course, I would love to keep you updated here on YouTube. I'm not promising when it's going to be. It might be a while. It might even be Christmas time, which is actually when I get more time to paint because I'm working less and things like that. But I just wanted to do this video, and I really do hope some of you find it interesting, just me waffling on about the projects I'm doing. I really don't know if you guys are interested, so yeah, please comment just what you thought of this video, and if you like what I've done with Abaddon, and if you like my little Chaos Marine kit bashes, love to hear from you guys. And I really do hope that sooner or later I'll update you with airbrushing these models and showing you how to do the Sons of Horus green, which I've been doing, which is quite an easy recipe too. In the meantime, if you like the Abaddon and the Maloghurst and the Dread, obviously please sign up to the Patreon. We've got all those tutorials ready to go on there, and I'm really happy with those. But yeah, looking forward to your feedback, and I hope you like this army. I hope even more I do it. So yeah, feel free in a couple months' time to tell me off if I've made no progress on this army. Anyway, I hope you liked it, and speak to you guys soon.